Well, Happy New Year. First
Happy
of
New Year.
all, first shout out of 2024.
4. Wow. Bless you. Blessings in this new year. Sorry.
Yeah. So coffee moment.
Yeah, coffee moment. Coffee. To the new year.
Indeed. Coffee moment. Trying to get that sneeze out.
What's your coaster say?
My coaster says, keep it clean by the watermarks.
That's me too. Keep it clean. All right. Keep it clean. Side A.
Keep it clean, side A. We should make some SLB coasters.
It's clever. Clever little coasters.
We got the SLB mugs.
We do. And I think that
Can you believe we've done this over 10 years? That's 10 years in the books.
I think we got a plan to make some actual custom SLB coffee at some juncture this year, if there's any interest in it.
Because people have the knack, or the inclination, not the knack, the inclination to sit down and have coffee with us and play or listen. A lot of people do play along with the songs. I've been told many times.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, or listen and tune in, drink coffee with us.
I think coffee and music go together really well. Like, I think that's why a lot of coffee shops do the kind of singer-songwriter thing.
I mean, I think so too.
It's like all the fine things.
I was happy to do a Alice in Chains song this week by request.
Yeah.
I was like, excuse to listen to Alice in Chains.
You like pounced on that request.
I never really think about Alice in Chains much anymore, but I grew up listening to them. They were probably one of my favorite bands growing up. And I think that any guitar players certainly out there that listening that are sleeping on Alice in Chains should definitely listen to them. You know?
I mean, I'm familiar with a lot of their songs without like having had an album in my youth.
And when I was probably much younger, and they came out with the song Rooster, I didn't like it because they played it so much on MTV.
So much on the radio.
So much on MTV and so much on the radio.
Yeah.
But I liked all their other songs, but even now, I think Rooster is a really good song now. I listen to it again.
I'm going to have to go listen to it again because my brain thinks I'm still burnt out on it. So I'm going to have to go give it another listen and see if I actually am or if it's just sort of a nostalgic burnout.
You get to the point where you kind of tune it out, probably much like we were talking about last week or 2 weeks ago with the Christmas music because,
Okay, that's it. I just need to hear Hispanic Alice in Chains.
Right. It's not that I don't like the Silent Night. It's that I'm just so burnt out on it and something a little bit different is cool to listen to, Yeah. But, 20 years off from listening to a band can do that for you too.
So, reacquainting yourself with a song to learn for the shout out, how did you feel? What kind of feels did it bring up for you?
Interestingly, first of all, the first thing I actually had was technical, evaluation. So I was listening to it and I was like, oh, this is a fairly repetitive song, but it's based around a riff, and there's lots of changes, not lots, there's a fair amount of changes because it goes from a major key to a minor key.
Is it because of the arrangement?
Verse. Well, it goes from an A minor, but then it does a little weird key change to the chorus, which is, gives it that lift, I guess, where you get the, So there's some technical things to it that I really probably didn't appreciate as a young person. And also, I thought that a lot of Alice in Chains for me was unreachable when I was first learning to play guitar because I wasn't into the whole drop D and down-tuned guitars, and I thought it was too hard to retune my guitar to learn a song off the radio at the time, and I was more into guitar players that I considered to have technical talent at the time, like Santana,
right,
and Stevie Ray Vaughan and those types of players.
Well, those were more guitar-centric bands as opposed to Alice in Chains. I think Alice in Chains is more of a whole band kind of a thing.
They really are, and I didn't realize at the time. That's why I was saying anybody they were easy band to kind of sleep on for some people probably because they write really good songs. Like, their lyrics are very in depth, and they have like a lot of good harmonies going on between Jerry and Lane.
Yeah.
And they're pretty deep, and anybody that like struggles with like depression or like anxiety, like there's a lot of stuff to relate to in their catalog that I think is really good. I really liked them musically at the time. Like I said, I wasn't really into the whole drop D and detuned stuff like with other bands.
Really, that was like the whole grunge movement. Yeah, had a
like
lot of drop tuning.
Low drop tunings and all that stuff, but I wasn't really into it, so I didn't take the time to relearn, like to retune to learn some of this stuff. You know, with the exception of maybe one or two songs that my first cover band did, like Man in the Box, you know.
I think even on first approach to this song, you didn't drop the tuning. You wanted to see kind of how we
learned it, like,
we did it.
Standard tuning, and I was like, you know, let's see what it sounds like in drop tuning. I took the time and retuned it, and, you know, I think it's part of the feeling of the song. It definitely, there's certain songs where you can change the key to just about anything you want, and you can bring something new to it. It might not be exactly like the original recording, but you can bring something new or bring a feel or bring something like that.
Right.
But I think that part of the feeling is the
melancholy is in that drop,
And I think it's a good thing, and it just sits well. Like, this is one of those songs that you kind of want to, you know, if you want to faithfully portray the feeling that it's giving you. There's probably other keys that you could go for as well, but I think comfortably for your range, the original key worked really well.
Well, working like and trying to work it up, the beginning approach, it was extremely difficult for me, and I think part of it was, and when you dropped into the drop tuning, it was a bit easier for me, I think, because I had a loose familiarity with it.
Yeah.
But I think the hardest thing for me to approach is the line Down in a Hole, because it's both used in a verse setting and in the chorus. So like I have to remember which one is which, and because they have a different melody line.
Yeah, and it's interesting because like your verse part, if we just did it in standard key, so this is all like, you know, all these are flat because you're tuned down a half, but like the verse is just repeating over and over A minor, G, D major. But then, well, and so when you sing it over the verse, you're actually singing the Down in a Hole over A minor. So, but you're playing in D major in that riff, we'll say, because it's kind of more like a riff than a chord progression to me in my mind. You're playing A minor, G, D over and over, and then when it drops into the chorus,
which are chords that I know and I can play.
Right. So when it drops into the chorus, interestingly enough, it goes to D minor. So it's actually going from the D major to a D minor. So it's not only is it a hard key change, but it's it's like bringing the melody like up a fourth.
To a weird place.
It's a little bit of a strange interval.
Yes.
To shift interval to, because
and we've been talking about these shifts and intervals.
Right.
And whatnot
because
lately,
like the fourth tradition in a scale is a suspended feel, or it's like a feeling of suspense. You know, so dropping into that, it's a weird interval to switch vocally. It works really well on the guitar the way they've written the riff, because to go from a major to a minor like directly in the right spot can work, you know. And I think it's really cool that they did that. Then they have a turnaround coming out of the chorus that you know, brings it back into the A minor.
Well, it takes it from like a little more intensity space to back into that melancholy again too. Yeah. I think it was really well written, and I gotta say I'm really glad I was a little at least familiar with it before we tackled it.
Yeah, you know, and it's funny because I've gone the opposite way with it. Like, where at the time, maybe when I was first playing, I thought it was elusive and hard, you know, maybe mostly because of the tuning. Now the hard part of it is in the redundancy of it, because it has a certain feel that repeats over and over and over and over and over. And sometimes in my own playing, I tend to find that is a weakness, to repeat the same thing over and over with the same feel. It's a challenge to be engaged with the progression for a long period of time.
For a long time, yes.
Because like part of it's
repetitive, and it's like if you try to do like a finger pattern, for instance, just on the table, eventually your brain will go elsewhere, and your fingers will stutter.
Especially if you're not super familiar with it. So like they've played the song probably hundreds of times. So once they've learned it and mastered it, and same thing for me. Probably if I learned it, mastered it, it'd be a different thing. But the problem that I struggle with is learning a song. You know, as you know, today I played it maybe 2 or 3 times beforehand, and it's not a difficult song per se. Technically, what happens is that your brain thinks that you got it down, and maybe your fingers don't. So your brain starts to go elsewhere onto different ideas and things that you might want to try or visit.
And it's not that you don't want to be very present. It's not that you don't want to be
engaged with that, but like all of a sudden, like you're kind of like, what are my fingers?
You find that you have been at least a little bit unpresent, and then you kind of freak out a little bit inside of yourself. And,
so if you listen back carefully again to this take, you could probably hear, you know, a moment or two where I was just a tad bit unfaithful to what I played in the opening riffs, you know.
Well, I think a lot of that can be like pushed onto the emotional intent of it. But I mean, like, you're giving away the secrets here.
Giving away the secrets.
But okay, so we talked.
Not bad for a
No, that's not bad.
Not bad for a take or a take and a half. The first one I just stopped in the middle. So
that happens. Sometimes you just have to stop.
And I'll see if I can dig up that video because that was pretty funny.
Sometimes you just stop. But so you talked about technically your feelings. What did you think? Like revisiting it, like your emotions.
I keep having the same feeling every time I hear Alice in Chains, you know. And I have some. I used to have some on my iPod when we had iPods, and I had the CDs, and I had. You know, they're a band that's been with me for. I know that we've listened to them together.
Absolutely,
through our years off and on, and that.
20-some years.
I don't really feel like like a lot of people get stuck in the music of their high school and they have the nostalgia for those age in the era. And my thing is when I listen to Alice in Chains, like no matter what song comes on, it seems like I'm like, dang, they're really good. I should listen to them more, you know? Mm-hmm. And I think like, man, you know, I that was such a good band, like,
right?
You know, and I kind of go in that direction with my nostalgia, and I'm like, man, you know, what else can I listen to by them? And have I listened to all their really good songs? You know, have I found out all there is to find out about their music? You know, and I don't know about their history as much.
I do think that I think there's some solo stuff maybe floating out in
there is
in
like Jerry Cantrell did some stuff because Lane passed away.
Yes.
From and that's a interesting topic and probably a good transition too. Is that Lane was a pretty well notarized or documented heroin user, you know, and he struggled with that for a lifetime. And you actually told me, because I'd always thought that this song was about heroin
addiction,
and his heroin
just
and
addiction
his addiction use because it seems to fit really well, right? I mean, lyrically.
That's what makes this song really good because it fits a lot of scenarios.
Yeah, it does.
That's what makes it really great.
So I'm interested to hear your take on the lyrics and what you think.
So like, you know how we've talked about telling ourselves stories about it. So prior to looking it up, I had already told myself a story, right? So when I looked it up, though, it was Jerry Cantrell actually wrote the song for his longtime girlfriend, Courtney, and I can't remember her last name. It starts with a C, I think. Anyway, because he was dealing with or trying to process his inability to be faithful to somebody that he really cared about, also while wanting to be unfaithful.
Yeah.
So he was in this like conundrum. He was in this paradox of feeling. He had like two opposing feelings that don't.
So more like a guilt song of guilt.
But also of love, you know, because it's not that he didn't have deep feelings for this person that he wanted relationship with. It's he wanted to play too, and he felt like the rock and roll kind of musical lifestyle that he had chosen wasn't conducive to that long-term relationship. Alongside his personal feelings on long-term relationships, he felt like he wasn't created to be in a monogamous relationship. He felt like his own leanings weren't conducive to that kind of relationship, even though he felt very deeply for this person. So that's where the lyrics came from. And I know from our writing of songs that you can start off with an idea and it goes to a different place. Like you create a character in your mind or with something in mind, and how the song kind of unfolds is not necessarily true to the original narrative that you created, right?
Sure.
So there could be some of that in there too. So like when I first listened to the song to learn it, not just to listen to it, I thought it was like a sexy time song.
Wow.
Almost, I don't know of a different term, so forgive me. Almost like a foreplay kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Like, this is, I'm not where I want to be and I want to be with you.
Yeah.
But with that grunge
yeah.
spin on it. That's kind of what I thought. Yeah. Like, this is a grunge band doing a, like, foreplay song. So, in learning that it was about a relationship, not necessarily the story that I told myself. But then, as I was kind of researching that, so many people go to this song when they're feeling depressed or when they feel like they just can't go on, or they're looking for a representation of their depression. And we've talked about this often, like how important that melancholic kind of feeling, for that to be represented, like the sad songs. It's important for us to find relation when we don't want to be alone, but we've cocooned ourselves a little bit because of our depression. We don't feel safe and we don't feel like anybody else is safe. It's important that we can reach out and find music that we can relate to in those moments. And looking through comments, and I encourage anybody who's interested, go look at like their Unplugged or their official video of this song. So many people are so grateful for this song in particular because they just feel seen. It doesn't matter what it's about. It could be they do have addictive personalities and they feel down in a hole, or they feel down in a hole emotionally and they're not sure if they can be saved, and it makes them feel better to be represented musically by somebody they feel like that person understands me or has understood me. I'm not alone.
It's like one of the great human plights, right? To like realize that you're not alone, because so many people feel alone for some reason.
Yeah, there is nothing new under the sun. If you're having an emotion, it doesn't matter if you can clearly name what it is or define it or not. Somebody else out there is having that emotion. And if there's not music that you feel represented by in that with that emotional content, write it, because we need it. We need it.
Well said.